Well, hello and welcome to this beautiful day. I'm Rebecca Pugh, and we're here at Greenwood Farms, which is part of the Trustees of Reservations. And I'm offering you a message from the First Church in Ipswich, which is a congregation of the United Church of Christ. And I want to say to you that you're welcome, that we in our tradition, in the congregation, in the denomination, we have an open and wide welcome to seekers of all types, and no matter who you love, no matter who you are welcome here. And no matter how long you've been practicing prayers, or no matter how new you've even considered this kind of a life, you're welcome. This is one of God's beautiful homes, and we are some of God's beautiful people. I have a message for you today about the enormous love of the Holy Heart of God. And I want to start with a story for you about the Repair Cafe movement, which began in Amsterdam in 2009. This young woman, Martine Postma, had her second baby, and she started to get appalled at how much stuff was getting thrown out. She was anxious and stressed and couldn't bear all the stuff that was getting thrown out around the edges of this new perfect baby she was holding in her hands. And she didn't want a world where a baby would face all that trash piled up around the baby. And so she got this idea, this kind of brainwave, which was that if she recruited people who were good at fixing things, different kinds of things, she wasn't even sure what people would even take them up on, but that if she recruited fixers, menders, people who were good at healing, then and opened up a space, maybe in a church or maybe in a tent at a farmer's market or something, maybe people would come with their broken stuff. And not only would they be able to fix their stuff with the help of experts, but they also might build community. And sure enough, in Amsterdam in 2009, people poured in with clocks and vacuum cleaners and toys and all kinds of treasures. And there just happened to be the right mix of people to be able to fix a lot of the stuff that was broken. You had people doing very well mending the vacuum cleaners. Apparently they're easy to fix. And you had people doing very well sewing back up the stuffed animals that had torn. And it's such a beautiful image to me to think about these cafes for mending things so they don't get thrown out. And I feel like it teaches me something about the holy love of our beautiful Creator, that things aren't disposable, that we would want to keep them. We would want to mend them and heal them and put them back together and hold on to them, as well as we'd want to hold on to people and not dispose people either. And that's the story from the Bible that I want to lift up for you today as I think about the repair cafes and the lectionary as it cycles around the world, and the passage people are reading in churches all over the world right now, which is the story of the Exodus. And you have Moses and the Hebrew people enslaved and so bitter. They're in chains and miserable. And Moses has seen it. He's acted out about it. He's grown up in royalty, but then he sees his people suffering so badly, and he sees that they're being treated as if they're disposable. They're being treated like stuff to toss away, and he hates the sight of slavery. He can't stand it. And he's wandering in the desert of his in-laws, trying to think what should happen next. And what comes to pass as he comes across this burning bush. And the burning bush has this holiness all around it. And a voice says to him, "Take off your shoes, Moses. You're on holy ground." And there he is, so angry. And he gets invited to take off his shoes, like to sort of change gears and open his heart and be ready for a new thing coming in the world. And he takes them off, and the bush keeps talking and keeps speaking to him and saying, "I need you to free my people." And Moses is like, "Nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not interested. I can't do that. And I can't really speak very well." And the voice from the bush again says, "You need to let my people go. And I need you to redeem them, to save them. I need you to help them have a life." And Moses is his confidence is so low, partly because he doesn't speak clearly, and for other reasons too, probably, and definitely because he's witnessed so much suffering, these people in misery. he doesn't quite have the voice to imagine how he can be a part of freedom, the part of this redemption that they need. But the voice from the bush then finally says, tell them that I am has sent you. And Moses is like, what? And the voice says, I am the great I am. Tell them that I am has sent you. I am what I am. And Moses doesn't quite understand that this is holy perfection summarized in such a simple way of mostly verbs. I am, the great I am. But he does realize that he doesn't have much time to waste, that it's important, imperative, brilliant, that they're to try to follow through, to try to work for this freedom that he's been invited to do by this holy power, this burning bush, this presence in the midst of suffering, this calm when he's so anxious. And so he, in fact, does go back to try to call the Pharaoh to let the people go. And he becomes, even despite his impediments, he becomes this amazing leader that we love, that we hold on to, that we cherish, that we're so glad for, that we follow still today. And we believe in freeing people who are enslaved, creatures who are enslaved, with even more energy today, perhaps, than in Moses' time, because his story gives us such strength. And so we've carried Moses' story into other times of terrible enslavement, and it's been a beacon of courage and enlightenment, and indeed of redeeming, of not throwing things away and not throwing a life away, but redeeming it. I love the story of Moses and the burning bush, and I love that it gives us this strength to carry ourselves on and through and against incredible odds. And I want to say how much these glimpses of freedom have helped people, even people who aren't religious, who've believed in saving lost things, who've believed in freeing broken or entrapped creatures and people, and even to the point of freeing people whose hearts are downtrodden. Not just, I don't want to say just, I was going to say not just mending a broken vacuum cleaner, but I don't mean to belittle that, because that's so important too. But then you have people too who are enslaved by their spirits being down or hurt or injured or sorrowful. And I love to think that this message to tell the people that I am has sent you, that I'm the great I am. I'm here to be in you and fill you and be through you and with you. And I love to think of that powerful love of God, powerful love of the Holy One, powerful love of I am, blessing people in and through, and creatures in and through their sorrow. Well, what happened with the repair cafes is that they ended up being invited or needed to help repair broken spirits as well as broken stuff. And that's so interesting to me, that the first repair cafe had all these beautiful engineers and seamstresses and brilliant folks who could mend and seal, and then people started coming who were struggling with depression, and they realized they needed a social worker on the team for repair as well, or a nurse who had a healing voice, or a clergy, or someone who was a great listener and could help people talk about their sorrows. And so now in repair cafes, you usually have a table too, where people whose hearts are broken can get support and help in mending, even as the buttons are being put back on the shirts. And then one day at the repair cafe that was built here in the United States, in New York, in this beautiful part of New York, Warwick, the team had been there working all afternoon, and they'd mended 100 things. They taped books back together. They'd done all kinds of out-of-the-box repairs, and they were just packing up. The social worker had even left by the time the last guest came for a repair. And it was an old woman with a little silver tube on a chain, and the jump ring that held the little kind of cylinder to the chain had broken, had bent, and she was hoping to have her necklace mended. And the host of the repair cafe said, "Oh, we're done. Thank you so much for coming. Please come back next month." And she burst into tears. And she said, "My grandson's ashes are in the cylinder, and I've worn this cylinder every day since he died, and I can't wait till next month." And so the repair cafe hosts, who weren't the ones set up for this repair, they were set up for other repairs, but they just put down all their stuff and got out a tool that wasn't the right tool, but that maybe could mend the jump ring, and they all bent their heads around. And people who weren't trained to listen for this kind of thing, yet listened and gave love and asked about her grandson and how did she love him and what was he like to raise. And folks who usually don't mend jump rings figured out how to mend the jump ring, and they put the necklace back together. And then one of the people who'd been hosting the whole thing hung it back around her neck and gave her a kiss on her temple and told her to go in peace and that they'd hold her in their hearts. And the broken heart got a little bit of solace and a little bit of mending, a little bit of comfort, a little bit of help that day when the great I Am stepped in the midst of slavery and said, "You can do this even when you think you can't. You do have the tools even when you don't see them. You can hold on even though you're not the rightly trained one for this task. And so stay and offer your love and offer your comfort and your work because it's needed and you're the only one who can do it." Like what God said to Moses. It's a glimpse of the Holy One, this idea that I'm the great I am, that we don't always focus on when we say our prayers or when we ask for help or when we lift up our spirits for strength, but it's so central to our identity that we would be freed from the bonds that chain us, that we would be held together in holy love, that I am, this verbness of holiness is gathering us in. It's quite important, quite beautiful. And in conclusion, I want to sing you the song that is based on a passage from Rabbi Nachman, who wrote about 1750 when he was having a terrible bout of depression himself and feeling in this great struggle for isolation and for wondering what his purpose of his life was, and he was in despair. And then he somehow came to realize that the aliveness that he was to be connected to the holy aliveness, that he was a part of it. And if he could just say that to himself, it would help him make his way through the day. And so I sing you that song, "Who is this aliveness I am?" It goes like this. Ya da 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 da, I am alive. Ya da 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 da, I am alive, I am alive. And who is this aliveness I am? And who is this aliveness I am? And who is this aliveness I am? It is the holy blessed one. Da 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 da. I am alive. Ya da 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 da. I am alive. I am alive. And who is this aliveness I am? And who is this aliveness I am? And who is this aliveness I am? It is the great I am. Thanks be to God. Amen. Well, this service is with thanks to so many. This offering from the First Church in Ipswich is with thanksgiving to the Ipswich ICAM television studio, who trained us and helped us figure out equipment and helped us put this idea together first, and then helps us every single week publish these messages. And with thanks to the deacons of the First Church, especially Deacon Chris and Deacon Lynn, who do the filming. And with thanks to Anita Kupras for her beautiful music and her Labyrinth choir. And thanks to you for showing up and being a part of it and giving us a reason to do a recording. And we are so thankful to all of you and to the trustees of reservations for this beautiful property, even though we're rubbing off a few bugs as we speak. So let us be together in the spirit of prayer. Holy, blessed one, this aliveness that we experience in our bodies and our spirits and in our hopes. We thank you for the ways we reach to help each other. We thank you that Moses said no and yet found he could do what he was called to do for freedom. And we too have these Moses moments when we think we can't do stuff and then we realize we can. We can do more than we thought. We can put a jump ring back together. We can listen to a person who needs to talk. We can keep a shop open after closing time. We can give love and courage and hope again and again. And we can receive it. That's the amazing thing. Oh, holiness. Oh, I am. Oh, great I am. We too have been like Rabbi Nachman, bent over and brokenhearted and not sure which way to turn. And we too have received this possibility of the holy breath we can share with the world, this holy energy which we can open our ears with to hear the greater yellow legs, this heart which can help us pray to you and to open our spirits to each other. So bless us, most holy energy and presence and grace and spirit and love. We thank you for eternal love and that you are the I am in this world, wide and open and courageous and free, and freeing those enslaved from all the things that bind us, our chains, our fetters. Thank you for this day, this life, this breath, and for all that it is and all that is becoming. Amen. And now, good people, may the peace of the afternoon breeze be always swirling around you. And may the peace of the bird songs in your ears fill you with grace and energy. And may the peace of a hand to brush the bugs from your arms hold you even as God's holy hands are holding. And may the peace of the great I am be in your heart and mind and imagination and spirit this day and every day. Go in peace. Amen.